Hello, professionals. My name is Rico Aladdin, and I'm the founder of Professional Lunch. My guest today is one of the most kind-hearted person that I've ever known. So I'm so happy that she is here with me. But before we start the conversation, I have a favor to ask you. If you have not followed Professional Lunch already, as you can see, we are bringing some cool guests on the show. I want you to follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube so that you can get some of the content that we are bringing you almost every week. Now, Carly, welcome to Professional Lunch.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, I cannot believe you were here.
Oh man, I am like, when you said that, you have the most infectious, kind heart and smile and soul. So I am just happy to be here.
Oh, wonderful, so glad. So now, please introduce yourself for the Professional Lunch audience.
Yes. So I'm Karli Moch. I was born and raised here in West Fargo, North Dakota, and have two boys of my own and a husband, high school sweethearts. So, and just as of recently, started my own business as of January. So fresh into that journey, and it's been an amazing experience so far.
Wonderful, wonderful. I really love the tagline that you have on your website.
Yes.
Transforming team,
yes.
Igniting dreams.
Yes.
But we'll hold on that for a second. I really want to get to know about your story. Mm-hmm. You have a book out,
yes.
Battle to Breakthrough, and I read the book.
Yes.
And we're going to cover that first.
Okay, that sounds great. That sounds great.
All right. So, reading the book, your story is very inspiring. Let's start with the events that led to the birth of the creation of that book.
Yeah.
And how do you hope that story will inspire others or will make a difference in the life of others?
Yeah. So I wrote the book. It's been 2 years now since it's been published. And I self-published on my own. And I really wrote it for myself, for healing, for my family to just have that forever as something, a part of my legacy and a part of theirs, truly. They were a part of this as well. And also just when I went through the really hard time of a chronic illness and almost losing my life, I wanted that to be not wasted for a purpose for somebody else or a hope for somebody else. And so outside of the reasons for myself to write, I really wanted this to just be in the hands of people who might be going through a battle of their own. It could look totally different. But to know that there's hope and there's breakthrough within the pain.
So what do you expect? I want to hear about your strength and your courage in saying that, okay, I'm going to be vulnerable here. I'm going to put my story together for people to read.
Yes.
So tell me about that.
All right. I'm used to being on the other side now with coaching, and it's interesting to have to be the one answering the questions again. So back in 2017, like I said, I grew up here. I finished school, wasn't always really in love with academics. I just never really found my place. And after a 2-year degree, I ended up working at Pepsi for almost 10 years, really doing the corporate ladder thing that you just seemed like that's what you do. I really got almost wrapped into it, honestly, and just found I was weighing my worth on title and money and all of these things that was just not intended for my life. And I kind of spiraled out of control in that way of leading with my ego and burning out and 80 hours a week and giving my family the worst, honestly. Yeah. And it wasn't until 2017, I had my 1-year-old at the time, but I started getting symptoms of the disease I now know I have, but was kind of pushing it off, just going back to work. And about 6 to 9 months after I started getting some symptoms that I finally took serious, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And it went from diagnosis to hospitalization within 30 days.
Wow.
And so our lives got really flipped upside down. When you leave the hospital and you get that diagnosis and you really have no idea what it is, and all they do is write you a script for a pill and they say, I'll see you in 6 months. Wow. You're made to think that it's just going to be fine. You're going to take this prescription and you'll be fine. And that just wasn't my case. And so being hospitalized for almost a month straight with my 1-year-old at the time, we were trying every medication to turn this around, get a hold of the disease, and it wasn't working. And I was losing a pound a day for about 30 days and was extremely malnourished. And my life was quite honestly slipping right in front of our family's eyes. And I remember I hit rock bottom. Rock bottom is always a place where people can either choose to come up or stay there, right? And we do have that choice. Yeah. And I hit rock bottom on Christmas Day, and it was my family came in, and my mom tried to make it as normal as possible, air quotes, normal. And she brought, things to dress up in ugly sweaters and tried to make it as festive as she could. And we opened presents, and then 8:00 rolls around and visiting hours are over and my family leaves, and I just hit bottom. And I remember there was a nurse who I'll never forget who sat beside me and just said, "It's going to be all right." And that's all she said. She didn't try to talk me out of the crying. She didn't try to say she needed to run and go help someone else. She just sat with me, and the power of just sitting and listening and being there for somebody, that was something I'll never forget. And I truly just begged for a second chance at that point. I got on my knees and prayed that I would just, if I got another chance, I would walk through any door, no questions asked. And that's just kind of how my life has trickled ever since. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
The part of the book that I think that touched me the most is I know that many people struggle. Some of my friends even struggle with the ability to have kids, fertility issues.
Yeah.
And you talk about that.
Yeah.
And if you follow the news right now, you will see reproductive rights talking points all over the place.
Yeah.
Right? So first, share a little bit about how you dealt with it when you were in that process. And second, what message do you want others to get from the struggle that you have gone through?
Infertility was tough. It was something that my husband and I, we worked through together, but yet separate almost. As the female in the situation, it felt really, really guilt-ridden that I wasn't able to provide that for our family. And so going through infertility treatments, we probably tried for over 2 years. We went through, rounds of shots first, and then we went to an IUI, which is a procedure that you try before IVF for those who are kind of in that situation now or have been. And the second time around with IUI, it was successful for us. But it was just a crazy experience because I remember taking the test and it said negative, and I just dropped, and I just was like, why can't this happen for us? And my husband, we just cried together, and he left, and something inside me just said, take another test. And I took another one, and it said pregnant, and I could not even believe it. And I just was like immediately running to get this present I've had for probably a year and a half for my husband, of just the day this happens, I wanted to give him something and just share the beautiful news. And so when he came back, we did that, and then went in and just confirmed that we were pregnant. And that's our Dawson, who's now 7. So just super grateful for that.
Story.
Yeah. Yes.
What a cool story. I can see the book. I had to go through it again to prepare for the interview today. And I think it was page 63 or 60 something that you talk about how people relate more to your struggle than your success, right? And then you talk about a friend in that chapter also. Can you share instances, perhaps, in your professional lives where how that plays out like that?
There's when you said that out loud, first of all, you know more about my book than I do, I think. I've only read it one time after it's been published, and it was an outer body experience for me. So I love this quote, and I cannot remember who said it. This is a classic Karli moment. But there was, when you said that, the part about relating to your struggles, there's a saying that says, tell me what you know and you can entertain me, but tell me how you feel and you'll intrigue me. And I really feel like in life, but also in leadership, oftentimes leaders, and when they get to a level, can start to be the deliverer of what I know, right? Instead of the deliverer of how they feel, how this, a change might make others feel. They just leave the feeling part out of it. And I hate that, it's just business. I can't stand that. I think it's not just business. We are here as human beings in the human experience, right? Work is a lot of the hours and the years of our lives. If it is not about the human experience, then we're missing the point. It is business, but it's also you're in the people business, no matter what role you're playing.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like that gets lost a lot along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And as I was reading the book, another thing that stands out is you have a lot of scriptures in there,
Mm-hmm.
and you talk about your faith.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I grew up going to church on Sundays,
Okay.
just checking that box.
Mhm.
And to me, throughout my life, I thought that was a person of faith. I thought I was a person of faith, and I was a believer. But until I hit that rock bottom and truly begged for a second chance from him, and then he ended up providing us an opportunity for surgeries that saved my life. Somebody had gifted me a devotional, and it was the first time I had ever dug into the word in my life. I never was encouraged to open a Bible. And so during that lowest of lows, I was reading one page a day, and it felt like they were talking directly to me in every single situation that I was facing in that day. It felt very, very personal. I didn't know that was even an opportunity in my life to feel personal and to feel a relationship with Jesus. And so that was the first time I realized that, there's a difference between believing and following.
Mm.
And from then, it was just this journey that was personal to me through devotion, through music. Music speaks to me and being outside. And so I kind of cultivated just more of a relationship outside of church for the first time. And that truly has been the biggest gift that came from all of it.
Wonderful. I got to admit that, sometimes I see your videos and your stories on Facebook singing.
Yes.
I think that's so adorable.
Oh, well, thank you. I will say, I feel like enduring all of this,
Mhm.
I felt like I lost so many things, and it felt almost like it felt so purposeful of what he stripped away from me during this time. And my voice was one of them.
Yeah.
And I really do think it was because I wasn't using it in the way that was intended, along with what I'm saying and how I'm leading, and also through singing. I don't think that I was doing it to uplift anyone at the time. And I think now although my voice isn't the same and surgeries have changed it, I just feel like there is a purpose to getting it back, and it's through worship. And I've never had that before. And so that's kind of where that started, of just sharing that on social to just hopefully be a bright spot in somebody's day and in that way.
Wonderful. The book is called Battle to Breakthrough by Karli Moch, and it's a very inspiring story. I suggest you guys, if you are listening, you want something to really lift you up, her story will inspire you and will give you strength in whatever difficult situation that you are going through. So pick up a copy on Amazon or at Vantage Point in Fargo. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Exactly. So, and then you can see for yourself. And today I'm going to be the lucky one. She's going to sign my copy for me.
I would love to.
So I'm excited about that. Now, before we go to the next part of the conversation, because we know Professional Lunch is eventually will be a mentoring platform for young professionals where they can come on and connect with mentors and find resources to launch their careers. So we're going to switch to the next part of the conversation. But first, I have to be grateful to Philstone Group and a former guest who sponsored this episode of Professional Lunch today. So we are grateful for you and for all of you who support Professional Lunch and keep this podcast going. Thank you so much. Now, let's switch to your professional career.
Yes.
You are a businesswoman. You are a keynote speaker.
Mhm.
You are a author.
Mhm.
An author. So, it's in the book again, I'm going to refer to the book because you have a whole chapter dedicated to
Yes.
bio girls.
Yes.
I think that's a good place to start.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I love that. I love that is in there, because it was probably the first time I realized what our community really has to offer. In this Fargo-Moorhead area, I grew up here, like I said, and being so narrow focused and not opening yourself up to seeing what's in your own community was how I was living. And when I met the founder of Bio Girls, it felt like it was so orchestrated. I know it was orchestrated.
Mhm.
And, her dad had just gone through the same surgeries as I had. And it seemed like an instant God wink moment for me to get involved. And I started mentoring for the program soon after. And it really changed my life. The messages we were teaching the girls are the messages I needed. I felt like I was at a clean slate moment in my life of who do you want to be and what are you going to do about it? And hearing the messages that we teach young girls, we all say, I wish I would have had that when I was that age so that I could have had, the direction for life in a much more confident way. And so the program changed my life by being a mentor. And then I ended up being able to work there about a year later for almost 4 years. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
I love that story because I don't know. I've said that many times on the show and Professional Lunch on the podcast. I don't know if I would be doing what I'm doing now without the guidance, the support, the help, and quite frankly, uh, the embrace from all the mentors that I've had
Yes.
along the over the years. And sometimes one thing I like to acknowledge is a lot of times those mentors believe in me more than I believe in myself. And which is why it's crucially important that I talk about what I want to do with Professional Lunch is creating the same opportunity for young people. Some of them who look like me, some of them maybe in a town that has 10 people in North Dakota somewhere who don't know anybody in this region, and where they can connect and learn about possibilities and opportunities.
Yes.
And so this is what we are heading towards. So I'm glad you talk about BioGirls, where how that has served you, in when it comes to mentorship. Now, Dream Project.
Yes.
Now everybody knows about the Dream Project. You're out there, serving people. Are you the founder of Dream Project? And if so, what inspired that creation?
Oh man. Yes. So I am the founder of the Dream Project.
Okay.
It all kind of spiraled from, first of all, just speaking and facilitating workshops. Prior to leaving BioGirls, I was doing those things, and it really lit a fire in me, mainly because not of the speaking, it's the after. When I really drilled down to, I was just felt like in a pivotal time back in August of last year, where I was feeling a nudge in a direction and I just didn't know what it was. And so I took really intentional, quiet, still time to just really be prayerful of it and ask for clear direction. And it really felt like when I drilled down to the one-on-one connection like this, when it's the someone afterwards saying, I'm going through something hard, would you grab coffee? It's those moments that I loved. And I love that true connection. And to also be able to say during our conversation, let me introduce you to. And so that's something that I was really passionate about. And so when I'm trying to think, well, how could you start a business around that? That's kind of seemed difficult. And then somebody had said, well, that's basically coaching. And so I kind of went down this road of discovering what that could look like. And I remembered a friend of mine that owned a company here in town. Was giving me a tour a couple of years back, and he stopped at this office and said, this is our chief dream officer. And I just was like, what is a chief dream officer? And so he just very nonchalant had explained that, you know what, this is a benefit we offer our employees, show them that we care about them beyond the role they play here. If they want to learn how to play piano, we're going to help them learn how to play piano. If their dreams are to travel for 2 weeks, how can we cover your space for 2 weeks so you don't feel like you are missing work? And so he made it sound like this is just like, well, yeah, you just care about your people, right? And it's so simple, but we lose that touch along the way, especially as we grow bigger companies that can often get lost along the way. And so I called him and said, how did you do that? What is it? Is that something you think I could do, fractionally for other people? And he told me it's a certification. You go get certified in this program and you're taught, how to do this. And so the Dream Manager program is what I'm certified in. And so I started the Dream Project as like our umbrella of speaking workshops and then that one-on-one coaching.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I love that. We need more company like this.
I agree.
We definitely do. So now, what are the core principles or values of that drive the Dream Project?
So our biggest piece of it is getting people healthy overall well-being. So it's on that physical, intellectual, which is kind of that passion for growth, not just learning what you're told to be learning, but you're feeling like, you're stretching yourself in a creative way or you're growing yourself personally, whatever that looks like to somebody. That's where we have the intellectual piece. The emotional health is all around relationships. And when our relationships are not healthy, we are showing up way different. to work. We're showing up different in the community and everywhere we go. And then spiritual health as well. And how we explain that one is obviously that's faith is a big part of it for me, but that's not how we explain it. The spiritual health is I am waking up and I feel like I know my purpose and I am at peace. That's a really, really hard one for a lot of people to feel that each and every day, especially people don't get to, not everybody can do things like we're doing, right? Sometimes you're playing roles that seem mundane, but how can we bring your gifts and your talents and your purpose within that role? How can you be that person in the office outside of the tasks that you're doing? And so really getting them fulfilled and hopeful inside and outside of work. And same with college athletes. It's kind of where this has gone a little bit as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, what challenge you see is a leader might face in trying to implement the dream project in the organization?
So I'll kind of take this from two different ways. So when I went to get certified, there was about 15 of us in each cohort that they certify at a time. Majority of them are sending an HR person to go get certified, come back and run the program internally.
Okay.
The issues I've seen or heard by talking to other dream managers, if it's not their entire role and it's just an added thing to their already overflowing plate, when they come back and try to implement the program, it's very hard to get it to stick because it's, you know how that is. You just go one more thing, and what's going to get pushed aside is this. Yeah. And so the really successful ones, if you were to do it that way, is to have somebody dedicated to that program. Now, in this situation, I've also talked to companies where, why don't I come in and run a pilot program for 12 months with 10 of your leaders, see how the program works, get people excited about it, knowing what it is. And if you want to continue at that amount of people and I can fulfill that for you, great. Or you see the value in it so much so that you want to hire somebody or you want to transition somebody's role to go get certified themselves. And then I can just go off and be excited that I helped bring that. And then they can fulfill that from there on out.
Wonderful. Yeah. I love that. I was playing with words when I was trying to think of the topic for our podcast today. And I say, awaken team's potential with the dream project. I don't know if you can see this.
Yes.
So tell me, and I love that. Again, I love the tagline that you have on your website, transforming team, igniting dreams. So tell me, how did you come up with that? Tell me a little bit about it.
I really felt strongly about the team functionality. We've all been on teams, whether in an organization or whether it was athletics. And if one person isn't healthy in all of those areas we just talked about, it is a trickle effect. It is a toxic situation to the group. And so how can we transform your team by bringing them through the program and getting them really self-aware? This is a lot of self-awareness work. And even in the dream portion of it, people don't even realize what dreams they have. They stopped dreaming. A lot of them just didn't think that, like my older ones, they don't think that they deserve to dream, which is super sad and disheartening to hear. You know what? I got to do my work hard, and that's it. But that's what I love, is to awaken that sense of excitement in life again. Because when we get towards the end, you're not hearing people say that I wish I would have worked harder. I wish I would have stayed in a role I was miserable in for 40 years. That is not at the top of their list. Yeah. We're going to leave a legacy, whether we know it or not. It's not if, it's what you're leaving. And so getting them to really intentionally think about dreams outside of just going on a trip. This is getting them to think about, what kind of character do they want to have? What kind of mom or dad do they want to be one day? What kind of legacy do they want to leave? What kind of nonprofit work do I want to do? And do I want to go on a mission trip? We have all these questions that get them kind of going through, like, oh, I never thought of that, and I really want to do that. And then I go back and say, which one is the most exciting for you right now? And they can go through that, and we'll work on that for the next 12 months. And then I always ask you, what one of these would make a really big difference in your life if we accomplish this? And so usually there's a mix of something that's exciting, and it could be a trip that they desperately need, and it's something to look forward to. And then maybe it's a relationship they really need to mend with mom or a family member. And if that was lifted, imagine that like heartache that just falls away and they show up in such a different way. So it's really fulfilling to see that come to fruition with a lot of people.
Wonderful. You kind of answer some of our next question because I was going to ask you to share some example of transformation that you've
Well,
seen.
I'm long-winded. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Yes.
That's fine. Yeah. So, and, as on the business side of it, so, how do you measure success of the dream project?
That is really up to the leader. If theirs is really going to get to the point of a lot of the business leaders, if we're talking organizational structure, they want to see engagement levels go up and turnover go down. And so this program is proven to do that. Disengagement is at an all-time high, and it costs people way more money than they know in their organization for the amount of time that their employees are not engaged. And if they're just going through the motions of life, if they're checking in and they're checking out, they are not giving you their best. They are coming in probably 50% engaged for your company. That is you losing money. And so when we talk about it in that way, they can see, okay, if I can get these people, really feeling balanced and their mental well-being is good, their physical well-being is good, and they get to look forward to, first of all, being heard and appreciated, that we care about you in a way that it's not just tell me your budget for the month. Why aren't you down? Whatever that is, what those one-on-ones might look like with a manager. Hey, we believe in you. We want once a month for you to meet with Karli and talk about what you want for life. If you need a break, we want to be that bridge because it makes a big difference, not only to that person, but to the family that they're a part of as well. And you just see that immediate trust level go up.
Yeah.
And when you trust your leaders, you will do probably 110% work.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that does that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Oh my goodness. I'm loving the conversation. It's really cool. So, you are helping people, and you, in a sense, you are serving. And I've said that many times on Professional Lunch. As professional, we are called to serve regardless of our line of work. You are serving them, helping leaders serve more people. So how do you see the Dream Project evolving over the next few years?
Man, I can't even think about tomorrow hardly before the next few years. But I really feel strongly in this college athletics realm from the transformation I've already seen in players. And when I thought that direction, this is not something that is being done necessarily through the certification that I went and got. When I asked them, is anybody doing this with college athletes? And they're like, no, they're not. There's some in schools, but it's for the teachers and not necessarily the students. And I just thought a lot of this is about clarity in your purpose. And a lot of times we don't know what that is. Think of that age group. When we were in college, I would say 90% of people have no idea how to follow their purpose unless they have a really good foundation and they have that together. And so I think of college athletes, I think you get injured or you are done playing and you're not going professional, you are stripped away from that identity that you've had for likely since you were a young child. Now, who are you? How can you transfer these skills to contribute to community in the workplace and things like that and still be excited? Because you lose that big piece of your life that made you feel whole. It was a big part of you and now that's gone. So how can we get to the core of who you are and what you bring on the court that also can be translated when you leave?
Oh, Karli, I love that. Man, where do I start? I have like 10,000 follow-up questions. I promise I won't ask them all. But, and so what I'm thinking is Professional Lunch is one of the idea that I'm promoting where young people who start school just because, or they just go to college, they don't have a plan, they don't have an idea of what they want. How can they talk to someone and find out, maybe get an idea, right? Get some guidance. And this is the spirit behind Professional Lunch, right? It's to create those opportunities for a relationship where the guidance can come in, the support like I got can come in. And when I hear you talking about, those athletes that, sometimes we already know that, more than 80% of the group, the of them probably won't make it to the
Yes.
NFL. And
Right.
maybe the number is much,
Right. Yep.
much more than that. And so, how do we support them in a way so that
Mhm.
they can find a different path
Yeah.
and opportunity that serve them in the future?
I mean, beyond ways like this, I
Mhm.
mean, even just talking to them, my wheels turn every single time. You
Yeah.
have a passion about, understanding the psyche of someone who's been in jail and repeat jail. I've
Mhm.
got somebody right now that's super interested in that, and that's something she wants to pursue
Yeah.
and understand and how they can help them. And I'm like, how can I introduce you to Michael Bloom? Man, he is
Yes.
going in the jail. I love going in beside him and
Mhm.
speaking life into people. And why don't you come along? It's those moments where you're able to be the connector. And I think when you don't have a program maybe like this, and that's not something that you just have handed to you, you
Mhm.
have to have the courage to ask.
Oh.
And so asking your professor, asking a trusted adult, this is what I'm thinking. Who do you know?
Yes.
And they're
Make-
so willing to help.
Yeah. Oh, I can second that.
Yes. And it's just, we get afraid to ask.
Yes.
And anyone who I've ever asked to be like, can I just sit down with you and understand your path and help me along the way? They're like, where do I sign?
Mhm.
I've maybe been told no one time
Mhm.
in 10 years.
Yeah.
And I try to repay that in the same way because that one more time, that one meeting, they all played a part
Yes.
in where I'm at now.
Exactly.
Every single one.
Exactly. And you pass that along to
Exactly.
in return. And oh my goodness, that's the purpose of professional lunch. That's what
It is.
that's why
yes.
with this, now more people get to know about your service, more people get to know about how you can help them accomplish what they want to accomplish. So tell me about all of the ways that you and your business are serving the community.
Well, I already mentioned Hip Hop and Hope with Michael Bloom. That is something I'm really passionate about. Just going in and helping bring truth and life and light into these people's lives.
Mhm.
And that's something that I'm really passionate about helping with. Accelerate Youth is another one that we support in time and treasure with foster kids in our community that are about to age out of the system. And so now, speak of connection and mentorship.
Yeah.
They leave the system and they have nobody.
Yeah.
They never got that home. They never were adopted into a family. And so how can they be adopted into community? How can we support them? How can we get them connected? An incredible organization, very, very new and green in our area. And so I love helping people build, especially if I've been able to do that with another organization and have experience in that. How can I use those skills to just help somebody else get going? So those two for sure are something I'm really passionate about right now, helping.
Wonderful. So this professional lunch is we are creating an online mentoring platform for young professionals. And everybody who come on professional lunch, I ask them if they will consider to be a mentor. Obviously the question is going to come to you at some point. And so, but one more thing that we always ask them is advice for young professionals, because, we all live in different times, but there are some, common things, common challenges that we all face. We may not be living the same lives, but the way you deal with the challenge might help me deal with mine, right? The way you embrace rejection might help me in my journey, because we all know that we won't get yes all the time, right? And so the way you deal with yours might be an inspiration to me.
Yeah.
So that being said, what advice do you have for young professionals who are launching their careers?
I think I just had this conversation with a new graduate last week from NDSU, and she's listening. I'm digging into, well, what do you love? What do you lose track of time doing? What is something that's super, you could listen to a podcast about it for hours. Just digging into questions about what they're passionate about. You might not be able to get that career in that exact bubble. But like I said before, all of those positions, jobs, they all played a crucial part. Was I living in pure passion and fulfillment like I am now as far as what I'm doing? No. Were the people a big part of my life? 100%. Are there people that are lifelong friends, feel like family from companies I worked with? Absolutely. And so there is purpose and growth in every opportunity. And so I think a lot of times when, especially now, they're graduating and they feel almost paralyzed by purpose. I feel like this generation is amazing in a way that they want to be purposeful. They want to be heard. They want to be loved. It's just a really cool generation. And we don't give them enough credit. I just think sometimes they think they have to be doing what they love right away. And that's not always the case. And to be okay stepping into a role where you feel like maybe you're going to have a mentor there. If you know a leader, you're like, this isn't the job I want, but I know I can learn from that person. Take the job.
Yes, I love that. Oh my goodness. Oh, if you know a person that has a job, maybe that's where you. I wanna be able to repeat what you said.
For which one?
For the last phrase you said, the last sentence you said there.
Okay.
If you know a leader that is doing a job, that you may not want to do the job, but you want to learn from the person, take the job.
Yes.
Did I get that right?
Yep.
Oh, wonderful.
Yep.
Wonderful. So, the show is about your career, your life. One of the topic that I'm really passionate about is personal and professional developments, which is basically what you talk about often. And I often ask guests, what do they love the most about their work? What do you love the most about your work?
I love being on the other side, like you are right now. I love seeing the light bulb turn on. I love being able to see them grow into leaders by breaking through on something that they didn't even know was a part of something that was holding them back. I just feel like my purpose, not only just in this role, is just to believe in people and value people. And I feel like I get that in my interactions one-on-one, in my interactions with the team, facilitating workshops. I get that moment to really see other people grow and feel valued and believed in.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you know what comes with what you love the most, right? If you love something the most, there obviously will be challenges. I always
100%.
ask. So what are some of the challenges that you face with this kind of work?
I will say I am an empathetic person at heart. And so sometimes I can let something weigh on me a little longer of somebody else's pain, maybe that they were open enough to share with me. So that's been a little challenge of maybe taking some of that home as far as my energy. But other than that, it's just been my own lack of, organization skills of just trying to get everyone organized. And, I did not realize how much time consuming 1 hour of coaching would actually be. It's not just the hour you're in there. And so that's probably been one of my bigger challenges of the blessing of getting a contract with a larger group and the, I'm not going to say curse because there's no curse to it, but just the roadblocks that I need to work through myself and getting that organized.
I once heard, I think Denzel Washington said that, and I love it. When you pray for the rain, you have to deal with
yes. Oh, there's like that. You ask God, grow me, and the rain started falling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have to deal with that too. So I think that a lot of times, we want the opportunities, but every opportunity will come with some difficulty.
Yeah.
And we have to at least prepare ourselves for both, right?
Yeah.
You can't enjoy the opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, you can have the opportunity without the difficulty.
Yeah. I think a lot of leaders in general, sometimes they get to that point, right? And you get the perks of leadership, but they don't want to take on the pain and the ownership. And so if you're going to be at a certain point, you got to be able to also acknowledge when you're wrong. Also be that leader that says, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. That gap is the missing piece in almost every organization I've been a part of. It's that gap of just being a human, and that trust level again will go up.
Yeah.
If you're going to be at the top, you got to also be willing to come down to the bottom and say, I was wrong. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That person is going to step back. And again, it's not the what I know and impress me with your good stuff. It's the when you get it wrong, I'll get it right next time.
Yeah. So what would you say? I mean, I've heard it before, some leaders, do not want to acknowledge that they are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, they have reasons for it.
Mm-hmm.
They say, well, you don't want to tell the subordinate or the people that you work with that you are wrong as a leader
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because why would you tell someone like that? Because
Oh,
I think that it would be the normal thing to do to say, hey, I don't know it all,
exactly.
right? I thought that was right, but I was wrong.
Yeah.
And how can we fix it? What can I
Mm.
do to do it better?
I feel like any leader that I know kind of in that personality group or that trait that just is really closed off to being vulnerable or to admit when they have wronged, it's they know.
Yeah.
A lot of times they know that's the way they are. It's taking the time to do this type of work for themselves.
Mhm.
If you're at the top, I hope you have some sort of coach or a counselor or somebody that helps you work through those things so that you can come back better with your energy, and because they're swamped too. And
Yeah.
so like everybody else, I just think that they need to realize they also need help, and it's okay, you need help.
Yeah.
And people want to help you.
Yes. Oh man. One thing most of well, some of the guests who come on the podcast share with me is the fact that they wish they asked for more help when they were in
Mm-hmm.
college or when they were starting out.
Yeah.
Because they realized all along there were a lot of people who were willing, wanted to help them.
Yeah.
But the problem is they didn't ask for help.
Yes.
So I think that's a very good point about asking for help.
Yeah.
Well, Carly, we get to the very last few minutes of the conversation. Any last words for the professional lunch audience?
I'm first of all, I'm just so happy to be on this. I from the moment I saw you on, interacting on social media and everything, there's something about your soul that just lights up a room. And so I'm honored to be here. So thank you first and foremost. I just think my biggest takeaway, I think, especially for younger leaders, is don't be afraid to ask. Figure out what you want and what you want to learn about. It could be not even close to what you're going to school for. It doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Do that work of trying to understand the things that really set you on fire, and then go talk to an adult or somebody and just ask, who do you know?
Wonderful,
Yeah.
man. I love this. Yeah, thank you so much, Carly, for being on
Yes.
Professional Lunch today. And if you want to use Carly's services, www.carly.com, that carlymoch.com. I want to make sure I get that right.
Yes.
www.carlymoch.com. You can find out all there is about the Dream Project and all the services that she offers. And you will love this tagline: transforming teams and igniting dreams. So you want to check that out if you think her services can help your team. So I appreciate you being on Professional Lunch today. It's such a
Yes.
pleasure to have you. And I say that you are one of the kindest person that I come across in Fargo in this area.
Thank you.
So I appreciate. I'm so grateful for meeting you, and I know that at some point in life we will collaborate to work on a project or some sort.
Absolutely.
Because I really enjoy talking to you, and
Yes.
I appreciate you being on
Same to
Professional
you.
Lunch today.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Now, as I mentioned before, if you have not followed Professional Lunch before, I encourage you to do so. And in return, I promise to bring some wonderful guests like Carly here on Professional Lunch to bring you the best content that we can. Now, this is the part that I tell you, it's up to you to make today a great day. Have a great day. Carly.
Love that. Oh my gosh, you're so easy to talk to. Seriously.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for being here. I mean, you are easy to talk to. I mean, this is the line of work that you are in right now. It's all blending. You as a
Yes.
person with a good soul, and you as a, so kind and good listener, and all the professional developments parts
Yeah.
come together.
Oh.
When I'm talking to you, so it's really nice to have you on Professional
Well,
Lunch.
thank you. Have you ever had